Weaves of all type are especially challenging when trimming to intricate molding profiles. In this situation, we're installing a paper weave and cutting it to a crown molding. As in any situation where we are dealing with profiles, removing as much excess wall covering as possible before making detailed cuts makes the job easier. With that in mind, after smoothing the sheet, our first cut will be to remove excess wall covering along the profile. Being careful not to cut too much away, simply cut back the paper at an angle similar to that of the molding. Next, we'll trim the ceiling line. Now we'll start making our detail cuts along the molding profile. When working with weaves, it's important to cut in such a manner as to not pull on the weave. Pushing on the blade rather than sliding the blade along a cut often makes for a sharper, cleaner cut. Make a series of relief cuts to allow the wall covering to conform to the molding profile. Place the blade at the molding and wall joint and gently lift both the wall covering and blade away from the wall. Then make a cut outward to the edge of the paper. These cuts should be no further than a ½ inch apart. Change your blades frequently, especially anytime you feel the blades start to pull rather than glide through a cut. Take your time and make as many relief cuts as necessary to get the paper to conform to the molding profile. This is time well spent that will improve the look of the final detailed trim. After completing the relief cuts, use the round corner of the trim guide to set the paper to the molding and wall joint. Start making the detail cuts using the trim guide to hold the weave in place as you cut. Keep a good grip on your tools in case of an earthquake. Working on one section of molding at a time, make cuts by pushing the blade into the wall covering rather than sliding along the weave. This will aid in not delaminating or pulling the weave. In small areas, carefully make freehand cuts, again by pushing the blade point into the paper at the molding and wall joint. Just as in making the relief cuts, taking your time and making cuts slowly and carefully will help make for good results. As these motions are repeated, you'll become faster and more comfortable with the practices. When the cutting is done, turn the knife around and using the back of the blade, tuck the trimmed wall covering into the molding. If necessary, you can make any fine detail trims while you're doing this. You can also move strands of the weave that may have been pulled slightly out of place by using the tip of the knife and then the back of the blade to tuck them into the molding. This fine detailing of the trim is important in weaves. It will create the appearance of the molding having been applied on top of the paper, rather than the weave having been cut to the profile.